Chief Justice Raymond Zondo will be meeting with Parliament's presiding officers this afternoon. That's after remarking that state capture could happen again if the recommendations of the report penned by him are not implemented. Zondo made the statement last week during the one-year anniversary since the handing over of the final chapters, looking at how institutions were hollowed out, at times at the behest of officials working in government. An urgent meeting was called by National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula and Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Amos Masondo. Newzroom Africa's politics reporter Ziyanda Ngcobo is at Constitution Hill, where the meeting is taking place. Oh, to be a fly in the wall of that meeting, Ziyanda, but on the face of it, what should it tell us?
On the face of it, it could tell us many things depending on which side you're coming from. So on the face of it, some could say that Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has overstepped the fundamental principle of separation of powers, that he in the judiciary has no right, as argued by some, to speak on the legislative arm of the state, that being Parliament, and that he's actually now gone beyond his duties, completed that report and should not be speaking. Another school of thought says, well, actually, the existence of the separation of powers is not rigid in the sense that someone like Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who may be concerned with the seemingly slow pace at which his recommendations are being implemented and the impact it would have on our democracy, that he has a duty as someone who is the custodian of the rule of law to say something before it's too late. And that he actually was well within his rights, especially being the person who's penned this report, to say that. So this meeting is going to be very critical, just to iron out the issues in so far as what Parliament has done so far. So you'll remember that in October, that was the deadline for Parliament to adopt the report, which it did. And then Parliament has also since put together a plan, and that was submitted at the end of January this year. So we can anticipate maybe that they would argue that the pace isn't slow, but due process is exactly that they can't, rush the process, all because it's seen to be a very slow pace. There's also the other aspects due to the political one, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has been criticized quite greatly for seemingly not taking actions at a political level against those who are within his cabinet and were implicated in that report. Gwede Zizi Godwa are just two names that come to mind almost immediately. So the remarks by the Chief Justice, who spent about a couple of years, 3 to 4 years, dealing with those testimonies and compiling that report, is someone who we're expecting to get a few remarks from today, but then tomorrow there will be a comprehensive briefing on the outcomes of today's gathering.
Have we managed to spot any of the stakeholders that are participating in this meeting?
Not yet, so at this stage we understand that they're on the way. The meeting is starting at 2 o'clock. We'll get a photo opportunity and probably some remarks from the likes of the National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, who's accompanied by the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, that's Amos Masondo, as well as the Chief Justice, before it gets underway. Hopefully that just to get a sense of the mood, perhaps the cordiality or the tensions, that these comments by the Chief Justice might have caused. I must also add that there's also a lot of concern coming from civil society about the protection of whistleblowers as a result of what has happened during the State Capture Commission and the things that were said there. And this is why this issue of Parliament's implementation of the recommendations is so critical, to ensure that, as questioned by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, should a situation of state capture present itself again, would Parliament be able to thwart and be in a position and have the capabilities to thwart such an attempt? So that's the question that he posed. And hopefully we'll get a better sense of what Parliament has done. As I've mentioned, a plan has been tabled at the end of January, and whether or not the process has actually begun.
Thank you very much for that report, Ziyanda Ngcobo.